So our final module in this course is Module 14. Here we will specifically cover the special sense of vision. So as humans, our dominant sense is vision. And this is reflected in the fact that approximately 70% of the sensor receptors in our body are located in the retinas of our eyes. Furthermore, approximately 50% of our cerebral cortex has some function in visual processing. This includes visual sensory information from the eyes that is interpreted as color, shape, pattern, or movement, as well as visual association areas, which is going to link that visual input with past experience. So we will begin by examining the external anatomy of the eyes. So first we'll examine the hairs that are surrounding the eyes. And we have two varieties. We have the eyebrows and the eyelashes. Eyebrows function to shade the eyes from sunlight, and they also prevent sweat from trickling down from the forehead into the eyes. And the eyelashes are hairs that are very richly innervated by hair follicle plexuses or hair follicle receptors. Anything that touches the eyelash will trigger a blinking reflex, and this blinking is going to block small particles or small objects from making contact with the surface of the eye. The eyelids, which are called the palpebra, are composed of skin that are supported internally by connective tissue sheets called the tarsal plates. The slit that is located between the eyelids is called the palpebral fissure, and the upper and the lower eyelids meet at the lateral and medial aspects of the eye. The lateral corner of the eyelids, where the eyelids come together, is called the lateral commissure, and the medial corner is referred to as the medial commissure. We see that muscles within the eyelids will trigger blinking reflexes approximately every 3 to 7 seconds, which is going to help to push the oily, mucus, and saline secretions produced by the eye's various glands across the eye. And this is going to help keep the surface of the eye clean as well as moisturized and lubricated. There are also a few glands that are located in nearby structures that are going to produce secretions that coat the outer surface of the eyeball. The first is the tarsal glands, which are also called the meibomian glands. These are modified sebaceous glands that produce sebum, which helps to lubricate the eye, as well as prevent the upper and lower eyelids from sticking together during blinking. We also see that there is a fleshy bump at the medial commissure of the eyelids, or in close proximity to the medial commissure of the eyelids. And this fleshy gland is called the lacrimal caruncle, and it also contains sebaceous glands, but as well as sweat glands, so it combines the two of the major glands that we saw in the skin, the sebaceous and the sweat glands. And together these sebaceous and sweat glands produce a white oily secretion that's going to function in the same way that the secretions of the tarsal glands function. They're going to help to lubricate the eye and prevent the eyelids from sticking together. Next we have the conjunctiva, which is a mucous membrane that coats the inner surface of the eyelids and folds over on itself to cover the external surface of the eyeball. The part of the conjunctiva that lines the inner surfaces of the eyelids is referred to as the palpebral conjunctiva because it is associated with the palpebra or the eyelids. The part of the conjunctiva that coats the external surface of the eye is referred to as the bulbar conjunctiva. And together the palpebral and the bulbar conjunctiva produce a lubricating mucus that's going to coat the surface of the eye. And the mucus also helps to trap dust and small particles as well. So because it is a membrane that is located on the surface of the eye, it also has the ability to become inflamed, and this inflammation can be caused by bacterial infections, by fungal infections, by physical damage or scratching to the conjunctiva, or it could also be due to airborne allergens. So when it is inflamed, this is referred to as conjunctivitis, which is also referred to as pink eye. Conjunctivitis that is caused by pathogens like bacteria or fungi is very highly contagious, but it's very easily treated with antibiotics or antibiotic droplets on the surface of the eye. Next, we'll examine tear production. The tears of the eyes are produced by the lacrimal glands, which are located in the upper lateral corners of each eye. Tears from the lacrimal glands are secreted onto the surface of the eye, and they tend to flow medially towards the direction of the nose. And where they flow towards is a structure that are or a set of structures that are collectively referred to as the lacrimal ducts. The lacrimal apparatus, therefore, consists of the lacrimal glands plus the lacrimal ducts. So the secretion of the lacrimal glands, which are the tears, consist of mostly water and saline, which is very similar to what we see inside of blood plasma, because the blood plasma is mostly water but also has some saline within it as well. It also contains mucus, which helps to lubricate the eye as well as the eyelids. And a few other substances that are found in it function in defense against pathogens like bacteria. So there's an antibacterial enzyme that is called lysozyme, which functions to kill bacteria by destroying the cell wall and the cell membrane of the bacteria. So tears that are secreted from the lacrimal glands onto the surface of the eye will drain into small ducts that are located on the medial part of the eye called the lacrimal canaliculi. The lacrimal canaliculi then drain into a slightly larger chamber that's called the lacrimal sac. And then from there, the lacrimal sac actually drains into the nasal cavity by way of a structure called the nasolacrimal duct. So now that we've examined the structures that are surrounding the eyes within the eyelids or within nearby structures to the eyes, we can examine the skeletal muscles that anchor directly to the surface of the eyeball. There are 6 skeletal muscles that attach to the external surface of the eye. These are collectively referred to as the extrinsic eye muscles or the extraocular muscles. They function to control conscious eye movement. So that is, these are skeletal muscles, and so therefore they are consciously controlled, and they function to move the eyeball within the orbit or the eye socket. The superior rectus muscle attaches to the superior aspect of the eyeball. Meanwhile, the inferior rectus muscle is connected to the inferior side of the eyeball. Likewise, the medial and lateral rectus muscles are positioned medially and laterally, respectively. So when any of these rectus muscles contract, it's going to pull the eyeball in the direction of that muscle. So for example, when the superior rectus muscle contracts, it's going to rotate the eyeball or turn the eyeball upward. When the lateral rectus muscle contracts, it's going to turn the eyeball laterally. We also have 2 oblique muscles that we see, the superior oblique and the inferior oblique. The superior oblique muscle is located on the superior side of the eyeball. However, its tendon runs a very unusual path to connect to the eye. The tendon runs through a small pulley-like structure that is called the trochlea, and then that tendon attaches to the eye at somewhat of an oblique angle. And so the angle of the tendon through the trochlea means that the contraction of the superior oblique muscle is going to rotate the eye in a lateral direction. The inferior oblique muscle, as its name implies, is located on the inferior aspect of the eyeball and attaches on the inferior and lateral side of the eye at an oblique angle. And so when this muscle contracts, it will rotate the eye medially. So this diagram here more clearly shows the locations of both the superior oblique muscle, because in the previous diagram we can only see the tendon of the superior oblique muscle, as well as the position of the inferior oblique muscle, as well as both of their attachment points on the surface of the eyeball.